And that brings us to number 4, which is you as an employee need to think about the total compensation package. Now, when I
Definitely.
talk about total compensation, this is all your monetary and non-monetary things that get rolled into one. Not every company has the same benefits, and some benefits mean more or less to you depending on your situation. So, right now, if you work for my company, we pay for medical 100% for our employees. So all of my employees have medical care, and we pay for it 100%. Now, they probably don't realize how much that is, but that cost me a significant amount of money. I could tell you, even when I was working the DoD, the Navy gave me free healthcare, and nobody appreciates free healthcare until they get out and they get a real job and they're starting to pay $300 a month for health insurance through their company, and they think it's costing $300 a month. It's not. It's costing the company another $300 to $600 a month on top of the 300 you're paying. That's just your part of it. And in our
Yeah.
company, we actually pay 100% of the healthcare costs. So if I was offering you, X, and some other company offered you X plus, 2%, but they're not giving you dental and medical, and I'm giving you dental and medical, mine's actually a better package, even though I'm giving you less money in your pocket.
Right.
Same thing when you start thinking about retirement plans, cost of living in the area, right? That's a huge one. If I offer you a job for $50,000 a year in the middle of, the suburbs of Oklahoma someplace, that goes really far compared to if I offered you $75,000 a year in San Francisco. $75,000 a year in San Francisco is like you're lucky to get a 1-bedroom apartment. $50,000
Yeah.
in Oklahoma, you could buy a whole house, right? And so it really does depend on cost of living in the area you're in. The retirement plans they give you. Do they give you matching? Do they offer 401ks? Do they offer Roth IRAs? All
Hmm.
that kind of stuff are things that you need to factor into your total compensation. Kip, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So yeah, everything you said, I'm just nodding my head like crazy. Yes, 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 yes. And just a couple of things I'd like to add. One thing that I want to add is that it's true that if you're going to relocate geographically, physically relocate for a job, um, yeah, I really like what you said. But something that's happening right now is a lot of companies are actually uh, converting to a remote workforce because of the quarantines and the pandemic and staying that way. And it's causing them to completely reevaluate their pay practices. Some companies are going in one direction, which is, okay, our headquarters is in San Francisco, but you live in Montgomery, Alabama. I'm not paying you a San Francisco salary. I'm going to discount the salary a percent, based on a cost of living percentage, so that you'll be able to maintain a really good standard of living in Montgomery, Alabama, but but you're not going to get a San Francisco dollar value, right? And so some companies are going in that direction, and other companies are saying, "Hey, we don't care where you live. We're in San Francisco. We're just going to pay everybody San Francisco money. It doesn't matter to us. Like, that's kind of where we were, and so we're just going to stay there." And they're doing that, to differentiate themselves, to attract the people who get that and understand it and want to take advantage of it. So just pay attention to that as well as you go forward. This is an area of the market that's shifting, and you need to be aware of that. The other thing I want to give you as an example of this total compensation idea and how it affected me personally. So I was negotiating for a chief information security officer job, and I was very focused on total compensation because one of the places that I applied to and ended up actually joining had this amazing 401k plan where every dollar I put in, they would put in $2. So it was a 2-for-1 match, and it was all the way up to 6% or however much, the max contribution was. And that was before any returns on the investments themselves, right? So I would put in a dollar, I would get an immediate 200% investment increase, and then that money would go to work in the market. And when I sat down and just did some basic back of the envelope math, I was like, holy crap, that's amazing. And when I put that in a total comp, lens, I was like, yes, please. I want to join your organization. That was great.
Yeah, I mean, for me and my company, we actually just opened a new company called Dion Training in Orlando, Florida. That's actually going to be starting business at the end of the year as we are shifting some of our operations back stateside. And when we move over there, we just set up the retirement plan. And so for all of our employees, there is a 6% dollar for dollar match. So for every dollar they put in, up to 6%, we're going to put additionally it's 100% match. So
Right.
our plan, because of being a small business, we don't have the ability to do the 2-for-1 like you guys were,
Most don't.
and not from a cost perspective, but our actual plan doesn't allow it without going to
Mm,
a much more expensive plan that costs tens of thousands of dollars a year to run. And for a small company, it doesn't make sense. So we just did the max we could, which was 6%. And when I talked to the retirement folks when we were setting it all up, they're like, well, you could do this, so you don't have to pay them this much, and you can do this and save this money. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. I want to pay my people well. I want them to stay with us. I want to use this as a recruiting tool. And so it wasn't like, what is the longest like they had things like you could make them wait a year before you have to match them, and you can vest it for up to 3 years. I'm like, no, that's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to create a good culture. Going back to your comment on San Francisco company, whether they're going to pay Montgomery rates or they're going to pay San Francisco rates, I will tell you, we are an international company. I have 19 people across 7 countries. People make different money based on where they live, which country they live in, which state they live in, and we do take that into account. I think that's fair to do because it costs a lot less to live in India or the Philippines or Peru than it does in Miami or San Francisco. But similarly, it is a lot less expensive to live in a place like the suburbs of Washington or something like that. And so based on those locations, we do adjust for people's salary and their expectations. And we do, one of the benefits we talk about total compensation is, do you allow them to work from home? Do you allow them to remote work,
hmm
or do they have to come to the office once a week or every day or that kind of stuff? And because you want to work from home and have that flexibility, you may be making a little less than your counterpart who's sitting right next to you, who's going to the office every day. That is a fair thing to do because it is part of a lifestyle and compensation package. So again, these are things you have to think about. Like, is dollar for dollar the most important thing to you? I will tell you, when I was looking for jobs and I was applying, for me, being able to teach when I was working for universities, being able to teach online and remotely was my number one priority. And I will take less money to be able to teach online as opposed to having to go into class every single day, because I didn't want to have to deal with the commute and the drive and being face to face with the students and all that kind of stuff. I just didn't like, and I wanted to remove myself from that. So, as you are thinking about the job and your total compensation, remember these things matter too, right? How much vacation time you get, how much paid time off you have. In our company, we have an unlimited PTO policy, so people can take off as many days they want as long as their work gets done. And so we don't, that all goes into that compensation of, you may accept less money from us than you would working for, I don't know, Kip's company or someplace else, but you're getting all these other benefits on top of it. So
Yeah.
that's the thing for you to think about as you're negotiating. And some of these things can be negotiated away as well, depending on where you're working and the company you're dealing with. With smaller companies, it's easier to trade things like, hey, I don't really care about that dental plan, but I'd really like to have an extra week of vacation, right? Okay, we can maybe trade that for you. So keep that in mind as well.